If you ask the question, who is the greatest grappler that I've ever seen, I would say I've never seen anyone better than Gordon Ryan. Now, people are going to jump when I give these two names. They're going to say, well, Danaher, you're close friends with Hodgy and you're close friends with Gordon, so you're biased. I can't answer to that. It's true. I'm good friends with both of them. I'm also a notoriously cold and unemotional person, and I'm saying this based upon things that I've observed. If I honestly believed that I'd seen other people who were better, I would have said it. Will that convince the people who criticize me of bias? Probably not. But those are the two names that I will mention.
I think it's an uncontroversial statement to say that Gordon Ryan is one of the greatest grappler ever.
Yeah, Gordon's obviously a very polarizing figure, and people tend to react to Gordon on an emotional level rather than a statistical level, and that colors a lot of people's minds. But I also have the benefit that I've seen both of these guys extensively in the gym, and that adds a whole new perspective. Like, if you think those guys are dominant on the stage, wait till you see them in the gym. It's even a different level of domination above and beyond what they did in competition.
Have they trained against each other in the gym?
No, they never trained together. They've been in the same gym, I think, only on one occasion. When Hodgy was stopped by New York, he came by to say hello, and Gordon was here at the time. They shake hands. They know each other, and they're both wonderful people in their own way.
What makes Gordon Ryan the greatest grappler of all time so good?
With Gordon, he's also very strong on fundamentals. All of my students are. But he's also obviously a member of a new generation of no-gi grapplers that also bring in technologies that weren't really emphasized in previous generations, specifically the prolific use of lower body attacks, especially from bottom position. This means that he can play a game between upper body and lower body, which was not really a part of Hodge's game. Nonetheless, you will also see significant similarities. He's got a very strong and crushing passing game to mount, and a very strong and crushing passing game to the back. You will see that the major differences between the two are from bottom position. Hodge's bottom game is essentially based around his closed guard. Gordon Ryan's game is based around his butterfly guard. So one is based on outside control and one is based on inside control. One focuses almost entirely on the classical notion of getting past the legs to the upper body, and the other one works between the two as alternatives and sees them as competing alternatives, where the stronger you become at one, the more your opponent has to overreact and become vulnerable to the second. So they have strong similarities in top position, but are very different in bottom.
He has, from an outsider's perspective, a calm to him in the heat of battle that's like that's inspiring and confusing. Is there something you could speak to the psychological aspect of Gordon Ryan?
Yes. People will talk all day about sports psychology, and they will often have heated arguments as to what's the right psychological state to be in when you go out to compete. I've never seen any one school of thought which gave noticeably better sports performance than another. I've never seen any psychological mindset prove to be reliably more efficient or effective than another. I've seen fighters that were scared out of their minds when they went out every time to fight, and yet they were very successful. I've seen fighters go out who were relaxed and calm, and they too can be successful. I've seen both mindsets win. I've seen both mindsets lose. I've seen every extreme between them. What I generally recommend with regards your mind and preparation going in, find what works for you. Everyone's different. Don't try to give a one-size-fits-all in something as vague and confusing as the human mind. Having said that, my preference, I don't force it on people because everyone's different, but my preference is to try and advocate for a mindset of unexceptionalism. Most people see competition as something exceptional. It's not your everyday grappling session. You train 300 times for every time you compete. And so they see competition as something exceptional, different, scarier, more nerve-wracking. There's a crowd watching, there's cameras. My reputation is on the line. I'm going to be observed and judged. And so they see it as this exceptional event. My general preference is to see it as an unexceptional event, to see everything else, the noise, the cameras, the crowd, as illusions. The only reality is a stage, an opponent on the other side of it, and a referee adjudicating you. And to make it as unexceptional as possible. Gordon does an extraordinarily good job of doing that. Gordon looks more tense in most of his training sessions than he does in his competitions, because he knows his training partners are typically better than the people he's actually going out to compete against. You see it in his demeanor. It's one of just complete calm. It also goes back to what we talked about earlier about the power of escapes. Gordon Ryan is almost impossible to control for extended periods of time in most of the inferior positions in the sport and most of the submissions. So he goes out in the full knowledge that the worst case scenario isn't that bad for him. And so nothing could really go that badly wrong. He can always recover from any given mistake and go on to victory. When you believe those things, you can have a calm demeanor.